Hello again, YouTubers, Ultimate SpongeBob 101 back here again on the SpongeBob channel for a Patrick Star Show episode review. Today's video is covering episode 11 of the Patrick Star Show, X Marks the Pot, and Patrick's Alley. This hypnosis states, a classic villain returns to his former lair, only to find the Star family inhabiting it. Also, the Patrick Star Show rebrands for a younger audience. Without further ado, let's get into it. X Marks the Pot features the first appearance of the famous supervillain Man Ray. He is getting released from prison, and of course, as all supervillains do, they go back to their life of crime right away. In this case, Man Ray hijacks a police car, rides off in search of his underground hideout where he has his Black Hole Doomsday bomb hidden. So the funny thing is that it turns out that the Star family actually built their house on top of Man Ray's underground hideout, which is funny because, you know, now Man Ray has to be tormented with all the nonsense coming out of the Star family. So he, of course, decides to attempt to infiltrate the house so that he can get down to the basement. His first attempt is as a pizza delivery boy, but Patrick doesn't buy it because he has his usual. This guy from, I think, the episode Little Big Switch in the main series, season 5, and he has his two wrestling guys from Krusty Crushers, I believe, in season 6. So yeah, basically they make a mockery out of him, turning him into pizza. But yeah, anyways, Man Ray fails in that plot, so he decides to pretend to be a traveling photographer instead, wanting to take the Star family's portrait. And of course, Bunny Star buys this excuse, but this doesn't mean Man Ray's gonna have it easy, because he has to put up with all sorts of different ridiculous nonsense coming out of the Star family this time that maybe it wasn't so worthwhile after all. So he first has Squidina here playing around with Man Ray's camera, and then turns out Cecil actually got a new job as a professional boxer of some sort, and even tries to, you know, go into a practice brawl with Man Ray, only to get himself in a lot of physical harm just because of a flick of Man Ray's fingers. And then finally, Patrick shows up. Grandpa doesn't want a photo taken of him, so he puts a vase over his head, which is kind of funny, but this is something cool. We got Man Ray and Mermaid Man action figures. Patrick is basically playing around with them and treating Man Ray like a horrible villain that he is. Man Ray, of course, isn't gonna take that lying down, so he starts competing with Patrick over it, and then says, look, I need to get a dark room so I can process the photos, and guess what? Patrick hits the button there, dumps Man Ray right into the basement. Man, seriously, there's a lot of pain for Man Ray in this episode. So yeah, meanwhile upstairs everybody is still in their small freeze mode, but Patrick thinks that it's taking too long, so he actually helps Man Ray dig a hole in the ground and scares Man Ray right into the hole. So this is when we finally get to see Man Ray's lair for the first time. There's like magma or lava on the bottom there, and a pretty cool hideout, I gotta say. He does encounter his ex-sidekick who is now dead, unfortunately, so that's pretty dark. But yeah, so he continues hunting for that Black Hole Doomsday bomb, and then Patrick comes slamming down on him, and when asked, it turns out that Patrick knew where the so-called Black Hole Doomsday bomb was after all. In this very epic maneuver, Patrick just grabs Man Ray and superheroes himself up into the living room where the family is still waiting for their photo to be taken. And guess what? The tabletop that was holding the camera after all, turns out to be Man Ray's Black Hole Doomsday bomb. And I'm not even sure why this has not happened yet, because Patrick claims that the bomb is actually their nut-cracking desk or some sort of thing like that. And if that were the case, probably they would have caused the bomb to blow up a long time ago if that's how they actually cracked the nuts on it. But yeah, Man Ray's expression is priceless. He's just like, you gotta be kidding. Man, so yeah, Patrick slams the mallet on the bomb, and of course, you could expect an explosion, right? So eventually, everyone is sucked into a parallel dimension, and Man Ray actually gets arrested in that parallel dimension. And yeah, that's pretty much how the episode ends. X Marks the Pot. I have to give it a 8.5 out of 10. 0.5 points extra for the Man Ray nonsense. But seriously, I kind of feel bad for Man Ray here. But then again, it was his point in the first place to, you know, cause the bomb to blow up, right? So that was his evil plan all along, but the way he actually achieved that was really painful on the mind or the body. I'm not sure. So yeah, very interesting episode overall. The ending here, thought it was pretty funny, but yeah, that's a portrait right there. Okay, moving on to Patrick's Alley. This episode basically is kind of the traditional babysitting theme episode, but of course with a Patrick twist. We start off with a giant robotic gorilla in a cage, and Patrick detonates that robotic gorilla to the cheer of all the kids watching, and unfortunately that gigantic robotic gorilla has taken a huge toll on the Patrick show's budget. Unfortunately, they cannot afford Patrick in CG during the next day's episode, which I thought was really funny because they actually put a CG Patrick over there and it's like, oh man. So yeah, great to see that. Squidina and Patrick then come up with a brilliant idea. Why not start a babysitting business with their show? And do you notice baby Squidward right there? Yeah, I noticed it, and I'm kind of confused because baby Squidward, well, Squidward in this show is supposed to be like at least a teenager, so I'm not sure if that Squidward is the same Squidward as this one. I have no idea. Alright, so yeah, we have this cool little advertisement there, and the disclaimer is that Patrick's show is not responsible for viewer brain damage. Well, you know, it's not giving me brain damage, but it is a really silly show, that's for sure. Patrick's babysitting business booms immediately, so all the babies are deposited at the Star family residence, and Patrick actually tries to lock them in a safe, which I thought was actually a smart move. Although, you know, you're technically supposed to care for the babies, not just lock them there and wait for the parents to come back. Squidina decides to put them in a pen instead, and Patrick has this whole gig of his song, which I thought was really nice. Finally, we get more song. I really want more song in the Patrick show and in the main series as well. But yeah, so the common running thing here is that every time Patrick does something, eventually the babies escape. So in this first instance, they tie their diapers and escape over to the neighbor's lawn where they play in the lawn. Unfortunately, it is Robot Lawnmower Day. Something like that. So yeah, the babies are in grave danger, and so Squidina and Patrick rush to save them. And there's a really cool part where, because Patrick's head is sliced off, the robot actually whistles the SpongeBob theme song in it, or the SpongeBob whistle in it, which I thought was really, really cool in terms of like a reference to the main series. So, plan number 2, or plan B here, put them in a wooden fortress. Okay, and this is a really cool part because Patrick puts up this portion of the show called Ouchie's Hints, which kind of is like Blue's Clues. And as a kid, I really liked Blue's Clues. Patrick's like, we're gonna find out what Ouchie wants. And there's literally like urchin food right there. And he's like, what do these cans of urchin food tell me? Ooh, let's do the can. Like, what? You gotta be kidding. And Ouchie's like, no man, you got it wrong. So yeah, he tries to, you know, solve this conspiracy by using bubble gum or chewing gum or something like that, and then he gets, well, one of those like brilliant ideas. So he decides to pour the food into Ouchie's food bowl and goes right in front of Ouchie and eats it. He's like, oh, I need some brain food. Well, that was hilarious. And Ouchie, for the first time, actually speaks up. It's like, no, you don't. It's for me. And also, the babies are out of the fortress again. So this is so silly. Unbelievable. Especially this one. Okay, so, oops. Turns out the babies actually made their way over to heavy traffic at a highway. Okay, this part I thought was a really genius idea on part of the writers. They decide to fish the babies out of the highway. I was not thinking of that, but yeah, that actually is a genius idea. So he has like all the rattle toys, baby bottles, teddy bears and stuff. And so he even manages to fish out Grandpet and decides to put him back onto the highway. Once all the kids are collected again, plan C is to put them in a sort of like a fish tank with a submarine, SpongeBob's pineapple, the Krusty Krab as well. I liked it. They, however, tear Patrick's to shreds, so that's kind of painful. But now it's time for puppets, alright? So Patrick's like, these kids need to learn some manners, and we're gonna teach them how to say please. But this goes in like a very weird direction because Patrick puts Grandpat into one of those magician trick thingy boxes and saws Grandpat in half. And honestly, I'm not sure how this portion of the episode has anything to do with saying please, but regardless, the puppet even rebels against Patrick, and like Patrick's like, oh no, you're going back into the box. And then of course this Marcy puppet says, let me out of here. And Patrick's like, what's the magic word? And then the puppet says something that is expletive. And Patrick's like, no, that's not please. You said the wrong word. This also is the time for the babies to escape again. And this time, they actually find themselves in a trap. They are being buried alive by the kids, which is kind of horrifying. They're going to be executed by the kids of all things. But thankfully, the parents show up and pay Patrick and Squidina. So I guess it wasn't too bad after all, until you realize it is a robot lawnmower day. And then, of course, Patrick and Squidina are about to meet their doom. Patrick's Alley, I will give it a 7.5 out of 10. A very funny episode in certain parts, but very silly episode in others as well. So yeah, we have the ending here with Grandpat being the son. Overall, these two episodes are really interesting. I personally prefer X Marks the Pot more because Man Ray, right? But there were definitely some funny things in Patrick's Alley as well. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like, favorite, comment, etc. Keep right here on Ultimate SpongeBob 101. And I'll see you guys in the next SpongeBob video. Bye!